Yo, what is good with y'all boys? It's me, Swoop here, and welcome back to a brand new video. Now, today's going to be showing you guys the best rod progression guide to go from the worst rod to the absolute best rod in the game. Now, before we get to this video, make sure you guys do smash that like button and hit the subscribe button, as I would really appreciate it, and it does help out the channel a lot. But yeah, let's not waste no more time and get directly into this guide. Alright guys, now there's going to be 11 stages of rods we're going to have to end up going through. In the first stage rod we're going to end up getting is going to be the carbon rod. So, over here in Moosewood, which is going to be the spawn area inside of the game, if you look over here by the merchant, you're going to end up seeing this rod called the carbon rod. And this is going to be our stage ride, and it's going to be the best early game ride you're going to end up getting. You're going to want to save up $2,000 just by fishing, and then you're going to end up getting this ride with some decent stats: 50% lure speed, 25% luck, 0.05 control, 10% resilience, 600 kg, and this is going to be your first starter rod, and that's going to be it for stage 1. Alright guys, now moving on to the stage 2 rod. Basically, once you do end up getting the carbon rod, what you're going to want to end up doing is fishing over here until you have enough to end up buying yourself a boat. Now once you do end up purchasing yourself a boat, what you're going to want to end up doing is hopping on it, and we're going to end up going over to Rosslet Bay, which is going to be the island directly east of Moosewood. So just head east with whatever boat you're using, and basically you're going to want to end up landing over here. Now pretty much you're going to want to go over to this pool right here and just fish here until you end up having around 7,000 credits or dollars, whatever you want to call the money in this game. But basically just fish over here until you have around $7,000, and then you can end up heading over here to this little blacksmith guy right here. Now he's going to have a little select few of rods, but you're going to want to end up buying the steady rod for 7,000 credits. Now pretty much this is a very good rod. Minus the lure speed, it has really good stats like 35% luck, 0.05 control, 30% resilience, and 250,000 kg, which is going to be very good for the second stage of the game, and this is going to be pretty good for your early game. Now once you do end up getting that, we can end up moving on to our third stage rod. Alright guys, now moving on to the stage 3 rod. Basically you're going to end up getting yourself another boat, and you're going to want to end up heading over to the northern summit or the northern expedition area. Okay, now pretty much you're going to want to end up fishing over here at the northern expedition, or you can even fish at Rosslet until you get around like 35,000-ish, 30-ish, 35,000-ish dollars. Alright, and once you do end up doing that, basically you're going to end up heading over here to get this rod. Now this rod honestly is fairly simple to end up catching, and if you do need help getting the money, you could always end up fishing over here, or you could even fish at the Castaway Cliffs Island, which is really good for money, or the Carrot Garden area. But once you do end up getting yourself a decent amount of money, you're going to end up heading over here to the northern expedition. Now from here pretty much you're going to have to do yourself a little bit of climbing, because it isn't too far up, but it's like a decent way up. So yeah, we're going to end up doing a little bit climbing right quick. We're going to end up throwing on an oxygen tank just so we don't end up you know what I'm saying, like freezing to death, or not freezing but drowning, whatever it is. But yeah, pretty much you're just going to want to end up heading over here. We're going to use our motorcycle to end up breezing past here. Pretty much you're going to end up heading to the second cave system, which is going to be the overgrowth area. So yeah, it's not too difficult to end up getting to, and we're going to end up just kind of speeding this part. Alright guys, and once you do end up finally following all of these ladders, it's basically going to end up leading you over here to this little campfire site. Now pretty much over here is where you're going to end up finding the avalanche rod laid up on this tent, and this is going to be the next rod you're going to end up using. It has decent stats: 40% lure speed, 68% luck, 0.15 control, 10% resilience, 65,000 kg. But the main thing about this is the sleep mutation, which gives you a 2.4 multiplier on all fishes you end up catching, and it's a 25% chance of it triggering. So yeah, it's a very good rod. Pretty good for the this stage of the game, but we can end up moving on to the next stage. Alright guys, now moving on to stage 4. Basically for this ride you're gonna end up wanting to get yourself around 100,000 credits. So if you don't know how to get a bunch of money, literally just end up going over to Castaway Cliffs. Now once you do end up having around 100,000 coins, what you're gonna want to end up doing is making your way over to the Statue of Sovereignty. It's gonna be kind of by Moosewood. It's gonna be the middle of Castaway Cliffs, where it's an area you should probably grind money at. It's a really good area, but it's gonna be like kind of like in front of it. But pretty much you're gonna end up going over to this cave, and you're going to want to end up gliding your way down or walking all the way down until you end up seeing this miner guy. Now once you do end up seeing him, just talk to him and ask if you could end up using his elevator, and then he'll charge you 400, and then you can end up heading down into the enchant altar, and this is where we're going to end up finding our 4th stage rod. So go ahead, take this elevator, and then as you guys can see, once you do end up getting inside of here, if you do end up looking left, you're going to end up seeing the rod on like a pile of bones. So yeah, it usually does take like a little minute to end up getting down here, but yeah, once we do end up getting down here, you'll end up seeing the rod right here. We're just going to end up going over here to the left, and then you're going to end up seeing the rod kind of stuck over here. And as you guys can see, this rod is 100,000 coins, so it's a little expensive, but it's definitely worth it. It's a really good rod. As you guys can see, 25% lure speed, 85% luck, 0.15 control, 35% resilience, but infinite kg is the main reason you're going to want to end up getting this rod. Plus it does make fishes 30 50% bigger. So this is going to be very useful for like catching like secret fishes and stuff. Those fishes you normally wouldn't be able to catch with a capped off max kg. And yeah, you're going to be more reliant on weight than mutations, and it's really good during admin abuse and stuff too. But regardless of that, it's still a very solid rod, and that's the rod I would personally recommend end up getting, or definitely the best rod you can end up getting during the 4th stage of the game. But now we can end up moving on to stage 5. Alright guys, now moving on to stage 5, the next rod we're going to end up obtaining is going to be over at Castaway Cliffs. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up talking to our shipwright and getting our ship and heading over to Castaway Cliffs. Now I'm not going to lie, this is a pretty easy rod to end up obtaining, but you are going to need a couple of sundial totems because you know you do have to get a specific weather to end up spawning for the rod to end up getting here. But yeah, basically what we're going to end up doing is heading over to Castaway Cliffs. As you guys can see, this is what the island looks like, and you're just going to want to follow where I end up going. It's going to be like right up there where that little house is at. So that's where we're going to end up heading right here. You're going to want to end up climbing up these ladders, as you guys can see, a couple of them right here. Little walk you have to take to end up getting to this rod. But once you do end up coming over here, you end up seeing this house right here. You're going to want to make a right at the secret kind of cave boarded up area, and I'm just going to want to end up jumping back here and then jumping past the little boarded up area. Then once you end up doing that, you're going to be inside of this cave, and then you're going to see a pedestal with the rod on it. Now if you don't see the rod, basically what you have to do is just use sundials until you end up getting rainbow weather, which it probably will take you like 20-30 sundials, but eventually you are going to get the weather, and then you're going to be able to purchase this rod for 250,000. As you guys can see, it has 65% lure speed, 100% luck, 0 control, 25% resilience, and 50,000 kg. You might be wondering, why is this rod even that good? Well, simply to put it, it has a like a 20% chance of getting the rainbow cluster mutation, which is an 8 times value multiplier, which is really good for this point in the game. And plus it can catch fish up to 50,000 kg, which is going to be a very good rod and definitely a step up from the King's rod. But now after that, we can end up moving on to the next rod. Let's get right into it. Alright guys, now moving on to the next rod, basically we're going to end up having to head down is going to be the depths. Okay, so this rod is going to take us a little second to end up getting to, but pretty much what we're going to end up wanting to do is you're going to end up finding a whirlpool, and then you're going to end up making your way all the way down to the depths. Now I'm gonna just assume you know how to get to the depths, but if you don't, look for a whirlpool that kind of looks like this, and then once you do end up finding this, you're gonna want to go down here to the Vertigo, which is one of the secret locations in the game, I guess, and then you're just gonna want to fish over here until you end up collecting that whole entire bestiary. Once you do end up collecting this whole entire bestiary, there's gonna be a parkour course right in front of you, and I definitely cannot see nothing. I don't have my brightness to saturation up. Make sure you turn that on, and then you're gonna want to end up completing this parkour course right here. If you have the advanced glider, you low-key can just glide through the whole thing, and then you could just end up completing it. Very easy course to end up completing. Once you do end up doing that, you're gonna be down over here inside of the depths. Now once you are here in the depths, pretty much what you have to end up doing is you're gonna want to end up going over to the relic pedestal. Okay, so that's where we're gonna end up heading right now. Okay guys, so pretty much from here you're gonna want to end up heading like kind of in the middle area, and you're gonna want to end up having 2 enchant relics. So you're gonna end up needing the hex enchant relic and the abyssal one. As you guys can see over there at that pedestal right there, this blue one, you're gonna want to end up turning in an abyssal enchant relic, which you can end up appraising for. Once you do end up doing that, you're gonna want to end up heading up here at this waterfall right here. And basically there's gonna be another pedestal which is kind of hidden right here. There's gonna be the hex pedestal. Just go ahead and turn that in, and then it's gonna end up opening that little gate right there. So once you do end up doing that, it's gonna end up opening this gate, and this is gonna be like a little puzzle down here. So we're gonna end up doing it as going through this puzzle and then finally getting the rod. Now once you do end up completing that maze, you can end up going over here and purchasing the rod of the depths for $750,000. As you guys can see, it's gonna be right there at that little pedestal. Then you can end up taking the portal in the back to end up transporting yourself right back over to the depths. And now as you guys can see, once we do end up loading back in, I'm gonna just pull the rod up. It's a very good rod. It's really good for catching all the bestiaries with 65% lure speed, 130 luck, 0.15 control, 10% resilience, and 30,000 kg. So yeah, this is gonna be a really good rod, and it does have one of the best passives in the game where you can end up catching 2 fish at once. So very good passive. And that's gonna be it for this stage of the rods. And now we can end up moving on. Alright guys, now moving on to the stage 7 rod. Basically what we're gonna end up doing is heading over to the Illuminescent Cavern. So this is gonna be one of the newer areas. Pretty much you're gonna end up having to head over to where the Desolate Deep is and kind of end up going over to the right. So it's a pretty easy area to end up reaching. Just make sure you end up having yourself like an advanced diving gear and some flippers so you can end up easily maneuvering your way through here. Make sure you avoid the mines as well. But basically you're just just gonna want to end up swimming over to where you would end up finding the desolate D-pad, but you're gonna kind of hook a right. And once you do the hook and a right, you're gonna see a bunch of keystones. You're gonna have to place the correct keystone at each pedestal. Now, if you don't know how to get these keystones, you could end up finding the corresponding one to like right here with this little image I'm gonna provide right here. But yeah, just look for hold E on the keystones and it'll tell you which one you need to go for. It's randomized for every player. Then you can end up finding each one and then getting that. But once you end up doing that, it's gonna end up take you inside of this little area, and pretty much you're gonna want to end up hopping on this log boat right here, and then you're just gonna want to end up going, and it's gonna automatically end up moving your way over here. And once you do end up doing that, it's going to end up taking you over to the luminescent caverns. As you guys can see, it's right here. Now for this rod, it's going to end up being over here towards the back side, and it's going to be this blue sword right here. Now you have to make sure you end up completing the entire bestiary here. Then once you do end up doing that, you can end up buying the luminescent oath, is what I think it's called. Yeah, the luminescent oath for 1.5 million. And this is a very good rod. I'm not gonna lie, it's one of the best rods you're going to end up having at this point. So it's a really good rod. It looks really cool as well. But this is going to be your stage 7 rod, a pretty easy rod to get, and now we can end up moving on to stage 8. Alright guys, now moving on to the next rod. Basically we're going to stay down here in the luminescent cavern, but pretty much you're going to want to end up going over here to one of these trees. So in this corner, kind of like by where you end up entering the area, and you're going to end up seeing this rod right here, and basically you're going to have to end up waiting for starfall weather to spawn. Now thankfully in the new update, you're able to end up getting the weather naturally. So as you guys can see, this guy right here, he's spamming sundial totems, but that's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to end up spamming sundial totems until you can end up getting this rod. So once you do end up getting this rod, it's going to be 5 million, and this is only going to be during starfall weather, but you'll basically get the Cerulean Fang rod. And this is one of the best admin event rods inside of the entire game because of the slashes and passive ability. But yeah, this is a very good rod, and this will honestly carry you through most of the game. But yeah, this is going to be your stage 8 rod, and it definitely does get harder from here on out. But yeah, this is going to be the rod you're going to end up getting, and then we can end up moving on to stage 9. Alright guys, now moving on to the next rod. Basically from here, what you're going to want to end up doing is you're going to end up going over here, and this is where we're going to end up finding our stage 9 rod, or basically how we're going to end up getting this rod. So yeah, basically just swim over here through the crimson, and if you don't have this door unlocked, you need a crimson blue dragon. So make sure you do end up catching one of those and mutating it until you get the crimson blue dragon. But once you are here inside of the crimson, basically you're going to have to complete the mushroom guy's little quest line. So as you guys can see, you're going to end up going over here to the Crimson King. You have to complete his quest line, which is literally just by going to these little mushroom guys around the Crimson and the Illuminescent Caverns and completing all their little quest lines. They're very easy, like getting plants, getting crystals, maybe catching a couple specific fishes. But once you do end up completing his quest line, he's going to end up giving you the evil sigil, and then we can end up crafting this rod. So what we're going to end up doing is heading over to the ancient archives and crafting this rod. Alright guys, then once you do end up making your way back over here, you can end up going over to the crafter and ended up crafting the rod with the evil sigil. Now unlike last time, this rod is 20 million now, so it's a really expensive rod, but it definitely is worth it. It has some of the most insane multipliers, like having a 500% weight gain, all type of stuff, making the fish just super valuable. It's one of the best rods inside of the game. Literally, it probably is the best admin event rod in the game. But yeah, a very good rod. As you guys can see, I'm gonna pull it up right here. 150% lure speed, 120% luck, minus 0.1 control, minus 10% resilience, but it does have a bunch of insane passives and stuff. So yeah, a very good rod, definitely worth getting. And now we can end up moving on to stage 10. Alright guys, now moving on to the stage 10 rod. The rod we're going to end up going for is going to be the Ruinous Oath rod. Now this is going to be located in the Crimson area, and in order to get this rod, basically you're going to end up needing 30 million, but on top of the 30 million, you're going to need to end up completing this whole entire bestiary, and it has to be shiny and sparkling. So the best way to do that, honestly, is literally just to appraise your fishes until they all end up pretty much having shiny and sparkling on them. And once you do end up doing that, you'll be able to buy this rod for 30 million. Now this is a very good rod. It has insane stats like 500% luck, 95% lure speed, 0.08 control, positive 25% resilience, and it's going to end up having infinite kg. This is a very good rod. It looks absolutely insane, and you do get the mastery mutation if you do end up perfect catching fishes. So yeah, this is literally going to be one of the best rods inside of the game, and that mutation, it ends up making the fish 16 times as valuable. So yeah, nevertheless, this is a very good rod, and this is a must-have rod. It's one of the best inside of the entire game. Honestly, might be one of the best rods in the game. But yeah, this is the Ruinous Oath rod. Very good rod, and you're definitely going to want to end up getting it. But we can end up moving on to the stage 11, which is the final stage of the game and the best of the best rod. So let's get right into it. Alright guys, now moving on to the last rod we're going to end up getting inside of this video, which is going to be the stage 11 rod. It's going to be the tryhard rod. Now honestly, this rod is very insane on paper. Like, this is one of the most insane rods. It has absolutely crazy stats, like not 80% lure speed, but 999% luck. That's absolutely insane, and like literally infinite kg as a max. But like actually getting this rod and using it, it's a very difficult rod to get, and it's honestly not even all that. So you have to end up completing Row Red's quest line. So pretty much just end up going up the Rodslip volcano and then talking to this guy right here, and you're gonna end up completing his quest. And basically his 3 quests are, firstly, to get 10 perfect catches with the flimsy rod, which isn't too bad. That's not too difficult. Next thing up is going to be to achieve 25 perfect cats and perfect fish catches, which is again not horrible. The third thing is to catch a megalodon or a kraken with a flimsy rod, with like a couple mutations on it, invincible and try hard. So yeah, that's very difficult on its own, but once then you're gonna end up getting this rod, and honestly it's a decent rod. Like it looks cool, I guess. I mean, it has insane stats, but just to be honest with you, like it's not a good rod. The progress bar is too low. The only way to even use this rod is to have Herculean on it, and I used to have Herculean, and I used to use this rod a little bit, but you could realistically only use this at like smaller locations. You can't really use this when catching big fish. So yeah, I mean, this rod is kind of a joke rod, I ain't gonna lie to you. Like even with these current mutations I have on it, I literally will not be able to catch a fish. It's not gonna be good. You need controlled and Herculean enchants to use this fish. I don't even know why, or this rod, I don't even know why I rolled off of Herculean. I was thinking I was gonna be able to catch it. It's not possible. But yeah, regardless of that, it's a decent rod with Herculean, but it's not nothing too crazy. I definitely would use the Ruinous Oath over this. But yeah, guys, that's gonna end up wrapping up the video. I hope you guys did end up enjoying. Make sure you guys do smash that like button and hit that subscribe button as always. But yeah, bye.